Okay, so a lot has been happening over at the failing ESPN for some days now. On the last day of the month of June, 20 ESPN on-air personalities found out they would no longer be working for the company. Immediately when the news went out, one of the first names to be mentioned happened to be Jalen Rose. That set off supporters wondering why was Jalen Rose being fired and not Malika Andrews. Many believed Malika was the most problematic. Since last year, you've had viewers expressing on social media how much they did not want her there because of all her disrespectful antics. And if you're not sure what I'm talking about, check out the links below in the description. Then you had Malika, who tried to Me Too Jalen on the air the other month ago.
Get your finger out of my armpit. We're just happy to see Jalen Rose welcoming in. But man, get your finger out of my armpit.
And while Malika is a proven misandrist, she's staying on air. On top of that, she never had to apologize. And then once Jalen Rose even had to apologize live on air for his comments.
And I would like to apologize for a comment I made earlier on NBA Countdown. I question why a woman's name who had an alleged affair with Celtics head coach Ime Udoka was not made public.
Everybody else had to apologize, but Malika never had to do that. It's amazing how she can disrespect the audience and still keep her job. So Jemele Hill came out to show support to her former colleagues who lost their jobs, while also clapping back at the fans who got upset over Jalen being fired instead of Malika. She said, "Having been through a couple layoffs at ESPN, I know how difficult today is. Wishing my former colleagues the best. I know they'll find their place. Also, not great when people play the why this person and not that person game. Realize that when certain on-air talent lose their jobs, that has a significant impact on the production staff who are not protected the same way on-air talent is. Someone's show going away means producers, tech folks, etc. could lose their jobs too. So try not to be so giddy about it." The part she snuck in to address the situation with Malika and Jalen because everybody was talking about it was the part where she said also not great when people play the why this person, Jalen Rose, and not that person, Malika Andrews. She was obviously annoyed by the people talking about Malika versus Jalen Rose. Now, why would Jemele Hill think that she's got a sisterhood with Malika to defend her? Low key, I guess she figured they have the same enemies. I don't know. Moving right along. So an old clip of Charles Barkley clowning ESPN, it resurfaced. A lot of people are looking at that clip saying Barkley was warning people about ESPN 7 years ago.
Oh my goodness. Curry with 21, Durant 39.
Why don't you go to ESPN and then I can not talk to you?
He's not going to work me like a dog and not pay me. That's four straight wins for Golden State.
Wait. Why wouldn't you go to ESPN? Why wouldn't you go to ESPN?
They're not going to work me like a dog and not pay me.
I'm just saying.
The
things that happen on this show.
ESPN 1, 2, 3,
You know what?
ESPN News, ESPN U, ESPN Radio, and then come up with that little puny stick.
Nothing.
You wake up.
I'm telling you.
Nothing good happens after 1:15 in the morning.
ESPN Deportes.
They have me on ESPN Deportes and say, muy bien, gracias. La muchacha, Emelito.
Hey, you have been working on it, haven't you? Thank you, Rosetta Stone. All right.
But one person who survived the cuts and they're still getting a pretty penny, Stephen A. Smith, said that he's aware that he's also not safe and he's preparing himself just in case he's on the chopping block in the future.
ESPN, just the other day, laid off about 20 members of its on-air talent. As you all know, I work at ESPN. My day job is First Take. NBA Countdown to NBA Stephen A's World, all of that stuff, but mainly First Take. And there are a lot of people who got laid off. Friends of mine, actually. definitely respected colleagues who've done a phenomenal job and deserved better. But it's not Disney or ESPN that they deserved better from. They deserved better from than the times we're living in. To see Jalen Rose gone, my brother, done an outstanding job for us covering the NBA for years. Got a lot of love for that brother. A lot of the great work he's done over the years, what he's represented for the company. I'm gonna miss him. Jalen Rose has always been good to me. And I loved working with him on NBA Countdown. He is a brilliant, brilliant basketball mind. He is somebody that worked his off all the time. There was never an assignment he backed away from. There was never a time he didn't want to work. And my heart goes out to him for being one of these cuts after his exceptional run at ESPN. Jeff Van Gundy's another. I'm never comfortable. I never take anything for granted, and I never assume that I'm safe. And First Take's number one, and been number one for 11 and a half plus years. Now, as an aside, veering away from ESPN before I get back to ESPN and Disney, let me address something to some of the haters out there about me. Y'all can kiss my twice.
Stephen A. went on to say that he's looking to reposition himself as a product instead of an employee. He said he's trying to become a businessman and gave kudos to Jay-Z for the inspiration. He said despite what people may think, he is not the highest paid at ESPN. According to him, they have other talent working there making more money than him, and those individuals have lower ratings.
We got a few people at ESPN getting paid more than me. They don't have the number one show. They don't have the top ratings. They don't generate more revenue. How come y'all didn't bring their names up? And by the way, none of them are black. How come you didn't bring their names up? I wonder why.
Listen, I'm telling you, this ESPN situation is crazy. Everybody's blaming everybody and nobody's safe. He also addressed the Pat McAfee situation. He had a lot of people coming for his neck too. Pat recently signed a deal with ESPN, $85 million for 5 years. That's about $17 million per year, which is less than the current contract that he was in with FanDuel, a 4-year, $120 million contract. That's $30 million per year. But a lot of fans wondered, how is it that ESPN, they wanted to cut $30 million in the budget, but they brought over Pat for a whopping $17 million per year?
Folks lamented how folks are being laid off, but Pat McAfee arrived at ESPN. Pat McAfee wasn't hired by ESPN. Pat McAfee was acquired by ESPN via the Pat McAfee Show. He had a product that he built through his grit, his hard work, his determination, his focus, his brilliance, and he turned it in to a $120 million deal that was once given to him by FanDuel. ESPN acquired that business. He's not an employee. He's a product that was acquired. I would know because I'm an employee who's trying to become a product. That is the world that we're living in.
Then you have Sage Steele, who also survived the chopping block. They're paying her $3 million per year. But honestly, there's no way they will fire her right now at this point. She's still in the middle of a lawsuit against ESPN. From when they suspended her for making comments about the jab, she got in trouble for that and she hired a lawyer. ESPN recently offered her $501,000 to settle, but her lawyer rejected that. So as long as this lawsuit is ongoing, Sage will be safe. I think we all know though, once they settle, her last day at the network will soon follow. And you know what? I think Sage is aware of that. Maybe she's just going to retire. It's funny how they could suspend Sage for that, but Malika, she's never been reprimanded for her actions ever. Then you have retired NBA player Kwame Brown. He spoke on the layoffs.
But now, real quick, my take on ESPN firing Max Kellerman and Jalen Rose, Keyshawn Johnson. My thing is these guys should look at it as a blessing in disguise, in my opinion. They should look at it as a blessing in disguise. They know that they had to read a script of what somebody else told them to say. Jalen Rose, maybe not so much, because Jalen Rose, he's one of those specialty guys. He played in the league, so he's going to have a little more leeway. And that's probably what got him out of there. And maybe even the whole Malika Andrews situation with the whole, oh, you grabbed up under my arm.
Where does it, get your finger out of my armpit. We're just happy to see Jalen Rose welcoming in the man.
It always seemed like the real brothers get fired. How did Jalen Rose get fired before Stephen A. Smith? How did they get rid of? I'm telling you, they don't want y'all to know shit about real basketball. I heard allegedly they're gonna have Lil Wayne, a rapper, go alongside Skip Bayless and talk basketball. That would be two unprofessionals talking professional sports. I want y'all to understand that. That would be two unprofessionals. They're not professional basketball players. They don't really know about basketball. At best, they're fans of the game. And no offense to Lil Wayne, but he's not a basketball player. He's a fan of the game.
Rappers supporting sports is definitely not the crossover I want to see. As far as Lil Wayne, he's talking about Fox entertaining the idea of rapper Lil Wayne taking Shannon Sharpe's old position on Undisputed. You know, the internet completely changed everything about sports news. These guys really don't need ESPN. And just looking at how ESPN is also disrespecting its audience by allowing Malika Andrews and any other producers behind the scenes to do what they do and parade around unscathed, even after all the public outrage over the last year, is very telling. And as I reported earlier this year, the Fed is expecting 1.5 million jobs to be lost by the end of the year. A lot of people will continue to lose their jobs, not just average Americans, but these high-paid workers as well. Some months ago, Disney already announced that they will cut 7,000 jobs. But people are still wondering, how do they make the decision on who to cut? Ultimately, though, it's their company, their decision. So let's go ahead and get the conversation started below. Let me know what you think about all of this. Special thank you to Rome D. I appreciate you, Rome, for all of your support, as well as Steven, Emmanuel, and Edmund. Don't forget that you can support this channel as well. Links to Cash App and PayPal are below. Ladies, fellas, want a balanced analysis, want the truth from a woman's perspective? Then you're going to want to subscribe to this channel, and don't forget to like and share.